So I may have just uncovered what Mams Taylor and Misfits might be planning for their next big pay-per-view. A big question coming into the Misfits Prime card was, if this was KSI's last fight, how are they going to keep these pay-per-views going? And there was a lot of questions as to the future of influencer boxing and possibly the destruction of Misfits should they be unable to continue without their cash cow being KSI. But recently, there have been some events going on and some things happening that lead me to believe what their plans are for their next possible pay-per-view. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I think you guys are gonna like this one. So it all starts when the conversations of Bazinga possibly taking on Joe Weller and Misfits started happening. You know, this fight, it seemed like it may not happen. You know, as we've seen in the past, Joe Weller has gotten into these feuds with guys and claimed to come back and box, but then he never really does. So there wasn't too much thought about it. But then he goes on Misfits 11, and he calls out Bazinga for real. And he says 100% he's coming back, and that's his first opponent. So Mams Taylor and Misfits are 100% trying to make this fight happen. And Bazinga also comes out and says himself, he 100% is down to fight Joe Weller as well. And this has become a big time fight that I know a lot of you guys have been excited for. And I've also seen a lot of buzz all around of people, you know, really wanting to see this fight. This brings kind of YouTube boxing back to its roots. You know, it's just two popular guys that people love and want to see get in the ring and fight. It's going to feel like the vintage influencer boxing again. So I know a lot of you guys would be excited for this. But then the question would be, is it really main event pay-per-view worthy on a Misfits card? I'm not too sure, but this is where these two other guys come into play. King Kenny asked Most Valuable Promotions, if you guys don't know, that is Jake Paul's promotional company. He asked them about Slim versus Gibb. And then, of course, Most Valuable Promotion replies and says, yes, our team would like to make that fight for our June event. To which, of course, Happy Punch puts this out there and lets this be known. And Mams Taylor says, would it be in a hotel lobby non-pay-per-view? So, some clear shots from Mams Taylor at Most Valuable Promotions. But, you know, I mean, he does got a point. I mean, Jake Paul's next fight is going to be in a hotel in Orlando, Florida. So, you know, he's got a point. But here's the big takeaways from this statement. This one little statement could actually mean a lot. So he says, would it be a hotel lobby non-pay-per-view? So there's two things with that. Number one is hotel lobby. Two is non-pay-per-view. So if you do a little bit of research, you'll find that the hotel in Orlando, Florida that Jake Paul is going to be fighting at come December 15th, it is a capacity of 900 people. Okay? And then the non-pay-per-view that, you know, Misfits just put on in York Hall has a seating capacity of 1,200, which isn't really that much more. So, you know, with Mams Taylor kind of making this dig, he doesn't, I don't think he's planning on putting on a pay-per-view at the York Hall or at a smaller venue. I think he's trying to go bigger. I think he's trying to go back to the O2, but he's gonna need to fill in those seats. And not only is he gonna need to fill in those seats, he said non-pay-per-view ? So that means he's also planning to put Gibb versus Slim on a pay-per-view. So if we want to go back to the O2, put it on pay-per-view, my guess is, if I were to put all the pieces together, I think my guess would be a possible Slim versus Gibb as the main event in the O2 with Bazinga versus Joe Weller on the card somewhere, possibly a co-main event. But that's just me guessing. I don't know for sure, but it just seems heavily like that's what's going on. And to be honest, it's starting to look like Mams Taylor and Misfits might have to get in a little bit of a bidding war with MVP and Jake Paul for Gibb, which is kind of crazy to think, right? Gibb is probably going to just pick and choose whoever might give him the best deal, but we're still not sure if Gibb will even fight Slim. As we know in the past, Slim has asked to fight Gibb a good amount of times, and Gibb just kind of said, you know, you're not big enough. Like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, you're nobody, so why would I fight you? So I'm not sure if Gibb is still on that type of mindset, But without a doubt, Gibb versus Slim is the biggest fight influencer boxing can probably make right now. So with this fight being in the talks, and Mams Taylor clearly, questioning, seeming like Mams Taylor wants them to fight in the O2 on pay-per-view, and then with them having Joe Weller come on Misfits to call out Bazinga, it seems like they really want to push that fight as well. So that would be my guess from all that has been happening. And hey, maybe, just maybe, putting these fights on the same card and maybe some other type of fights on this card, it might give Gibb the payday he's been asking for or looking for, or a payday, maybe not what he's been asking for, because let's be real, this is negotiating. You don't always get exactly what you want, but a payday he's willing to take on someone like Slim in a big time card for a big time main event. I know Leon Wills is saying that Gibb is retired, but I'm just not buying it. I think there's something going on behind the scenes. Whether Gibb fights on Misfits Boxing or Most Valuable Promotions, I think there is some negotiations. I think there's some sneaky stuff going on behind the scenes. And I think we just might, if we get lucky, we just might get the fight that we want. Anisan Gibb versus Slim. I think there is a slim chance of it, no pun intended. I think there's a small chance in it actually going through and actually happening. So I wouldn't get my hopes up too much. But to be honest, everything that's been going on is kind of pointing towards that. There's some other big fights that you could put on there. You could do the Salt Poppy versus King Kenny fight. There's a bunch of fights out there that you can make and throw on this card to make it a very big and successful pay-per-view. And to be honest, you have the fights, right? You got the Slim and Gibb fight. You got the King Kenny Salt Poppy fight. And then you have the popular guys in Bazinga and Joe Weller that will bring the audience. You have the big time famous people that everyone really wants to see get in the ring and fight each other. So, not only do you have the actual fights themselves that people will be excited about, but now you have some names that people could be excited for or want to buy the pay-per-view for also. So I think it's a good decision. I think it's a dub. I think if Mams Taylor can somehow get Gibb to come to Misfits, if he can pull it off, man, this event would definitely be something for the history books. I think it could, I don't know if it would top the Prime card, but I think it definitely has a chance of possibly topping the KSI Logan Paul 2 fight or getting very close to it. But of course, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. What do you think of a possible pay-per-view with Gibb and Slim as the headliner, Bazinga Joe Weller as the co-main event or somewhere on the card? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. As always, I thank you all so much for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.